Hello, students. So today we're going to be focusing on setting. So I know a lot of you already started writing your narrative about the Grand Canyon, and that's fine. So hopefully you've included something about the setting. But so what we're going to do is, my hope is we're going to do these kind of little mini lessons over the next few weeks about, today we'll focus on setting. Later this week we'll probably talk about conflict. So maybe you have those things in there already, maybe you don't. And if you don't, it's something to be aware of. So maybe you go back into your draft and fix these things. So today we're going to talk about setting. So the lesson here is it's going to go through a bunch of slides, and there's going to be some videos. So you're going to watch a video here on setting, kind of what the definition of that is. So this is the preview, and there's going to be a couple questions here you have to ask too. So kind of like an ed puzzle, you'll be asked some questions about the setting. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but it just says, the guiding question is going to be, how do story elements like context, dialogue, and sensory detail enhance a story? Okay, so that's sort of like our guiding question as we go through this. Learning objectives, describe characteristics, and explain the purpose of the setting in a story. Apply your understanding in crafting the setting in a given narrative, which is what you guys are writing. Okay, so you're going to go through, just like in your Nearpod, you're going to read a story. It's very short. It's about the fox and the porcupine. It's going to ask you questions. So just click through, but make sure anytime there's an open-ended question, okay, after you answer it, make sure you hit submit. I think there's going to be a little submit button when you guys actually do this. So anytime there's a fill in or something like that, you'll have to do that. One question is also going to be about this one right here. It says, where should the author describe the setting in the story? Mark an X. So easy way to do that, there's a little like a marker tool right here. If you click on this, you'll be able to use like a marker and mark where the setting should go on a plot diagram. You just mark with the X. So again, use this little, I think you could use either this one or this one of these. You could just sort of mark on the plot diagram. There's some practice. This is going to read something, and you're going to have one of the Aesop's fables and underline in green where the author establishes the setting. Okay, so you go through that, and it's going to ask another open-ended question, and then finally there's a little VR, a little virtual reality about the Grand Canyon. It's just you're going to see some just some scenery from the Grand Canyon because you guys are writing on the Grand Canyon. And then finally, it's going to ask you at the end, um, what's the setting for your narrative? So give some details. Yeah, so one given, it should be the Grand Canyon, but you're going to have to give me a little more detail than just the Grand Canyon. Where in the Grand Canyon? When is this taking place? Give me some description, like maybe what time of year it is. So when you write your narrative, it should be very clear. Don't just say the Grand Canyon. So give us, we know it's the Grand Canyon, but give us a little more detail. Really try to paint that picture in the reader's mind about what kind of day it is, what kind of year it is, if it's past, present, future. Give us some details so we know specifically what you're talking about. Okay. And then when I'm gonna post the video here, so one of the things I want you to do after you finish that setting activity is I want you to go into your narrative that I posted last week, and some of you already started, and I want you to highlight any details of your setting in yellow. All right, so anything that gives a sense of when and where, I want you to just highlight that in yellow because I want to be able to go back and look and see kind of if you guys are doing that right. All right, so that's going to be your lesson on setting. And again, if you finish it, you can try to finish up your narrative today. Remember, we're trying to go with a 500 word count. Try to keep it at that. If you go over, that's fine. We'll work through it and try to get down the words to a manageable amount. Okay, so that's going to be your lesson this morning on setting.